All right, my name is Craig Stallings. I am a lifelong resident of Hartford. I am married with 3 children. I live on Clark Street, which is the northeast section of Hartford. I'm elected to the 5th District Town Committee, and my children attend Capital Prep. The reason the community should come show up at the polls and vote is not voting is condoning the system the way it is. If you do not vote, you're not expressing your opinion. You are saying to the system that they're doing a great job. You approve of how they're educating your children, and you approve of how the direction of the city, you're approving of the direction that our school system is going, and therefore you're approving the direction our city is going. Well, on November 5th, voters should vote for me. One, because lifelong resident of Hartford, and I'm concerned about the growth of Hartford. I'm committed to neighborhoods. I'm committed to our community, and I will fight and be an advocate. Whether I'm elected or not, I'm going to be an advocate for the issues that we are facing in the city. Perspective isn't an attribute, but I would say patience and perspective. A lot of our parents really don't understand how the education system works, and a large part of a large responsibility for board members to educate the public on how the system works and how we can improve it together, rather than just dictate policy or set policy and not interact with the public as in general, or parents in particular. And I also feel that elected board members should be more involved in the community and sort of leading the charge in the community in terms of reforming our education, reforming the community around our schools so that we can close the achievement gap. An executive committee, I'm going to lobby for these issues. So part of my responsibility is to lobby and debate my fellow board members and see if I can persuade a few of those appointed people to side with the parents in the community of the city. The other thing is, again, it takes leadership. You have to go to community organizations and meetings on the weekends and after hours, and you have to implore people to get involved. You have to educate people on the correct issues, and you have to inspire people to learn, whether they have degrees or not, whether they're professionals or not, whether they're hanging on the street corner or, in a library. We all have to learn. Learning is a continuing process. So that's how I would do it. We give it a 3. And I'm giving it 3 because I want to be objective. I don't want to discount the positive gains that the system made, or the work that teachers did. Where I'm from, North Hartford, we have the saying, you put in work. And there's a lot of teachers that put in work. They do a lot. They spend their own money. They bring their own resources into the school. So I don't want to disrespect that effort and say that they're not working, because that affects learning as well, because love and caring goes a long way in the classroom. However, the magnet schools, or some of our gains are because of the magnet schools, and that 40% that comes in the city. And when you look at test scores, for example, the magnet schools do well because they have test scores from students that are outside the city. If you compare that to the neighborhood schools, there's a disparity there. And it seems like we're creating a school system within a school system, and we're forgetting about the neighborhood schools. So if we strengthen the neighborhood schools, I think then our system would be easily, we can achieve a 5. I believe the greatest challenge is understanding subcultures. The city, if you divide the city in 4s, no one section of the city is like another. So you can't approach students in learning in North Hartford the same as you're going to approach it in the West End. because their socioeconomic situations are different. And then there's a subculture. For example, there's a hip hop culture where I'm from that's very prevalent, and so sometimes things get lost in translation, where our students or our children might use the word cream to describe economics and finance. And in traditional institutions, they say economic and finance. So there's a disconnect when it comes to the language and lingo and the slang that our children use and what we're teaching. And I propose bridging that gap. If you can, so for example, if you can translate hip hop lyrics from slang to standard English, you begin to take a child from what they know, and you're introducing subject-verb agreement and constructing a standard proper sentence to reading and then writing persuasively himself. And I think if you sort of not necessarily change the curriculum, but change how you introduce it, and allow teachers to really create and have fun while they're teaching, I think we can close the achievement gap. As a board member, what I would do is I would look at the strategic plan. And the strategic plan at each school, I would like to see more parental involvement and more community involvement when it comes to making sure that our high school children are prepared for college. If we can have professionals tutor after school, things of that nature, that can help us. But when it comes to high school age students, more hands-on approach is needed with the schools and with the board. Like I said, you can't be disconnected with what the high schools are doing, because that's our product being ready to be released into the world. So we have to make sure that we have quality inspection, if I can borrow some terms. So again, with solid strategic plan and I would say working together to make sure that the superintendent and assistant superintendents really have a working relationship and a strong partnership with parents and community, more importantly the teachers and the principals, so that we can produce quality students and quality professionals. Well, I don't want to necessarily second guess the board that's seated now, but I would like to make sure that the steps that are taken to see this new superintendent, I just think that there needs to be more community involvement. There needs to be more, well, the first thing is I want to make sure that this superintendent is trained in reform, understands the reform that we started and the reform that we want to get back to, and make sure they have a strong working knowledge of how urban school systems work. And then from there, I think we can make sure that we find a person who understands that we are trying to change the culture of the city, understands politics, and realize that they have to do more than just talk with parents, but they have to be a community leader as well. I want to make sure that we introduce candidates to most civic and political organizations, because we are all vested in the success of the Hartford school system, and it's going to take all of us to interview or get to meet or to influence or to impress the new superintendent to make sure that they are doing the job that we want them to do, and not the job that they feel is best and important. Like I said, I just want to reaffirm that the next superintendent is an employee of the city of Hartford and should work for the residents and the school children of the city of Hartford. Humility. Honestly, humility allows you to learn, because you can step back and you can observe what's working, what's not working, who's productive, who's not productive, and you can catch more flies with honey than vinegar. And in this city, it can be very turbulent and it can be very difficult for a superintendent to navigate the parents, the political environment, and do your job. So I would say humility would be, I guess, one of the most important things. Because again, sometimes people are going to hurt your feelings and you got to roll with it. I'm sorry.
No.
I would just like to convey, with the turbulent times and the challenge with funding our school system, we need every adult and every parent to engage our school or your school. We need to support literacy programs citywide. We need to support our teachers. We need to be more creative. We need to do more homework with our children. We need to study. But we need to teach outside the schools as well. We need to teach about the issues and challenge the issues that we see outside our schools and around our schools. We need to stop turning a deaf ear to what's going on in the street. We need to establish more positive role models for our children throughout the community by local heroes. We need to do more because there's more to be done. But yeah, true education reform is community reform.